Hey developers, welcome back to the Programming Fields. I'm here with another exciting video in Livewire 3 playlist. Today we will talk about the data binding in Livewire 3. In this video, we will explore what data binding is, how to set it up, and how to use it effectively in your Livewire components. By the end of this video, you will have a solid understanding of data binding in Livewire 3. But before moving ahead, let's quickly know what is data binding. So data binding in Livewire refers to the synchronization of data between the component class and the blade view. It allows for easy interaction between the user interface and the backend logic. Livewire supports two types of data binding. The first one is one-way data binding and the second one is two-way data binding. The one-way data binding is also known as unidirectional data binding. This type of data binding involves the flow of data in a single direction, that is from the component's state to the view only. And any changes in the component's properties are reflected in the view directly, but changes in the view do not automatically update the component's properties. Now we will talk about two-way data binding. The two-way data binding is also known as bidirectional. And in this type of data binding, the data flows involves both direction, that is from the component to the view and from the view to the component. The changes in the view update the component's properties and changes in the component's properties update the view. Now we will talk about the benefits of data binding. So the benefits of data binding is it simplifies state management within components and also it enhances reactivity and the user interactivity. Alright, so now let's understand the data binding concept in the practical way. So in the previous video, we had created this counter component and we saw how we can use the lifecycle methods in Livewire 3. And now we will see how we can implement data binding in Livewire 3. So we already have a component. If I will come to the browser, then we implemented this lifecycle methods here. So to understand the data binding process, better I can create one separate component here. So let's come to the terminal. Let's create a Livewire component. So I will type php artisan make Livewire and we will have to pass the component name as basic form. Let's hit enter. Yes, Livewire component has been created. Now let's come inside the VS Code editor. Let's navigate to this component and here let's define one public variable as public $message and I will set this initial message as welcome to programming fields. Alright, as we already know, we can access this public variable directly inside this component view file. So let's come inside this component view and here let's create one h1 tag and inside this h1 tag we will display that message variable. Alright. Now we will have to render this component. So I will come to the welcome.blade file and here previously we were rendering this counter component. Let me comment this and here I will use Livewire basic form. So while rendering the component in blade file, we have to use the kebab case. Alright. Now let's come to the browser. Let's refresh. Yes, the basic form component has been rendered here. Now before understanding the data binding in Livewire, let's check out the documentation and if we'll scroll down under the HTML directives, you will see wire model here. Let's click on this wire model directive and here in the documentation, it clearly mentioned this wire model directive will be used to bind the data from any form input, whether it is input type text, radio button, drop down, checkbox, text area or anything. So in order to bind any data from the form input, we will have to use this wire model directive. So let's see how we can implement this. So let's come to the editor. Inside this basic form view, I will create one input type as text. Alright. And here I will use wire model directive and with this wire model directive, I will bind one property just like message because we already defined one $message variable here as a public. So we can bind public $message variable directly with this input. So whatever we have defined here in this public $message variable, that will be automatically bound here in this input type text. because here inside this wire model directive, we have bound this $message variable. So let's come to the browser. Let's refresh this application. And yes, we can see whatever we have defined in the $message variable, that is automatically bound with this input type text. So this is the one-way data binding. That means the data is passing from the component class to the component view. Now we will see how we can pass the data from the component view to the component class. So let's create one button. So we will type button, and here I will add text as submit, and we will have to bind another directive with this button. So let's come to the documentation, and here we have the wire colon click directive. So this wire colon click directive can be used with any button, any anchor link, or any element on that we can perform click event. So we will bind this click event for this button. So we will be using wire colon click. Alright, and inside this wire colon click, we will have to bind one method. So here I will bind one method as update message. Alright, let's copy this method. Let's come to the class, and here let's define this method as public function update message. Alright, and inside this update message method, I won't define anything as of now. So now let's come to the browser. Let's refresh this application. Yes, we have the button. Alright, so if we'll inspect here, and if we'll come to the network tab, and if we'll click on the submit button, we can see it performed one AJAX call, and in this AJAX call, it re-renders this entire component asynchronously. That means while rendering, this does not reload the browser, and it refreshed the component asynchronously. Now if we'll type anything here, just like this, and if we'll click on submit, we can see the data is appended here in this $message variable. So how this happened? When we typed anything here and when we clicked on this submit, this component has been re-rendered with the updated data. So if we'll click on submit, we can see it triggered this AJAX call, and in this payload, it passed the component's copy of the previous snapshot. In this snapshot, we have the data and we have the public property as message. So here the public property will be directly visible in the snapshot, and inside this message we had the message here, and inside this updates we can see we have the message. This passed the updated message in the payload here, and if we'll check out the preview, inside this preview of response, inside this updated snapshot, this returned the updated message, and this message has been re-rendered here in this $message text. Alright, again if we will reload this component, this will reset to the initial text as welcome to programming fields. Again if you change anything here, and let's click on submit, this updated this $message variable with the entered input text. In this way, two-way data binding works in Livewire. Alright, so I hope this is cleared for you. We understood what is one-way data binding and two-way data binding as well. We saw when we typed anything inside this text box, and when we clicked on this submit, then this is updating this $message variable. Now we will dig deeper to the wire colon model directive. So let's come to the documentation. Let's come under this wire colon model, and if we'll scroll down, then here we can see we have the customizing update timing. That means if we don't want to perform any submit event and we want to re-render the component, then based on this wire colon model directive, we can perform that. So for this, Livewire provides .live property along with this wire model. So if we use this wire colon model.live directive, then this will send the property updates automatically when we will type anything inside this input type. So let's implement this. Come to the editor, and here after this wire colon model, let's add .live. Come to the browser, and let me increase this width of this input type. So I will apply style width 90%. Let's refresh now. Yes. So whenever we will type anything, this will be automatically reflected with this property. So as soon as we type anything, Livewire sends the property updates to this server, and here from this server, this re-renders the updated data. Let me clear this network logs. Let's see the magic. If I will type any key just like K, it immediately performed AJAX call. Here in the payload, it immediately sent the AJAX request to the server, and inside this we can see we have the snapshot, message and the initial data, and in the updates it sent the updated data, and in the preview it returned the updated data. Alright, so by using this way we can avoid having this submit or click event. So if we want to send the request to the server immediately when we type anything, then we can use this livewire model.live directive. Here we can see this perform AJAX call on every single type. So in this case, the number of AJAX requests will be too much because it does not mean to make AJAX call on every single type. Alright, so to minimize this number of AJAX requests on every single type, Livewire provides another property with this wire model directive as debounce. So the debounce will minimize the AJAX request, so that will be fired up when we will stop typing. So let's implement that first. So if we'll come to the VS Code editor, and after this .live we can add debounce. Let's come to the browser. Let's refresh this application once. Let me clear these logs, and here let's start typing. We can see when I stop typing, this triggered the AJAX call. Here I have typed 5 characters and it performed only 2 AJAX call. Let me clear this log again, and let me type with this super duper speed here, and when I will stop, it performed the AJAX call. Alright, so this is the way of using debounce when you want to minimize the number of AJAX requests on every single strike of the key. We can use this debounce. Alright, so Livewire provides the variation as we can pass delay in this debounce, because when we stopped typing, it performed the AJAX call. But sometimes if we don't want the immediate AJAX call when we stopped typing, then we can use the debounce delay property. So after the debounce, we can pass the time. Let's suppose I want to perform AJAX call after stop typing after 500 milliseconds. Alright, let's come to the browser. Let's refresh this. Let me clear this log, and here I'm typing with the normal speed and I stopped, and after the 500 millisecond it performed the AJAX call. We can increase this timing as well. So let me increase this to 1000 millisecond. Let's see the differences. I stopped typing, and yes, after 1 second this triggered this AJAX call. Similarly, Livewire provides other properties with this wire model directive. So if we'll come to the documentation, we saw this live updating, we use this debounce with timing as well. Next we have the blur event. So this blur event is same as JavaScript blur event. So this blur event will be fired up when we leave focus from the input, or when we click outside from this input, this will be fired up. So let's implement that. So instead of this .live debounce, I will use this blur event. Let's save, let's refresh it once, and let's type something. As of now, we can see it does not perform any AJAX call, and when we click outside, we can see it performed this AJAX call and the component has been updated. Okay, so this wire model directive will be used for the form inputs. Sometimes if we have drop down, then this wire model blur or debounce won't work, because in the case of drop down, we won't be going to type anything, because in the drop down we will have to select the options. So for that, Livewire provides change event as well. So along with this wire model directive, we can use this change event. And if you scroll down, then here we have all the available modifiers with the wire model directive. So we can bind this wire model directive for the all types of input for the form. So in the next video, we will see how we can handle a form request, and in which we will cover all the input types and we will bind the data along with the all inputs. Alright folks, now we are at the end of this video, and in this video we covered the basics of Livewire data binding, including setting it up, working with different input types, and using advanced data binding techniques. Data binding is a powerful feature in Livewire that enhances reactivity and simplifies state management in your applications. So thank you for watching, and be sure to check out our other Livewire tutorials for more in-depth content. And if you have any questions or need further help, please don't hesitate to leave a comment below. Once again, thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your fellow developers. And if you have not subscribed Programming Fields, then subscribe it for more tutorials like this. And don't forget to check out the links in the description for related videos and resources. See you in the next video. Until then, happy coding.